Welcome to this edition of Above Sea Level. I'm Wayne Viner. That's Shane Gossert. Mason will be joining us later in the show today. And we're here today to talk about the actual application of CIO services. How does CIO, Chief Information Officer, help a company, a business get ahead? And I know we've talked about this a lot over the recent days, and the ability for a Chief Information Officer to come in and look at an overall situation, look at it from a business plan, translate that to a technology plan, has been powerful. You've talked to a lot of people. What's the response been in the community as you explain what CIO services do?
It's been really good. I mean, you can take a look at a help desk, whether it's internal or outsourced help desk. They're going to be very reactive. They're going to close the tickets. If you have a support issue, they're going to come to you. They're going to get it resolved. But that's purely reactive. The CIO level piece adds more governance. It adds direction, creates a business plan that will mimic, or an IT plan that will run parallel to a business plan and really complement what that company's doing. So not only saving them money, but helping them produce more revenue.
It does. So you end up with CIO services oversighting on technology, but more specifically, cybersecurity. How you use the software that you already own, how you go out and look at different business systems that's going to allow the company to reach its dream, where it's going. And one of the problems that we've seen, one of the reasons that we are in business, is there's a lot of companies that come across technology, I'd say in a fractured way, or pick one from column A and one from column B. And you've talked about this with people who might go out and like lease a firewall and they get the cybersecurity software someplace else, but just doesn't make a system.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you may have someone that's purchasing equipment from one provider. They've got a software here, software there, and it's, you know, they've all these different aspects, but there's nothing really putting them together, nothing making it cohesive. So really, they're just ad hoc ordering software and hardware without a real plan.
Yeah, it's a good way to spend money, but often not a good way to get where you're going because there's really no direction to that.
Yeah.
You just buy it as you need it. And over time, in thinking about this, how do you describe this to somebody who's in business but not in technology? You look for analogies that can work across all languages, where the company is, etc. And what we came up with, or what I came up with, is called the cake analogy. And the cake analogy goes like this. You're a business owner, and you decide that you want a cake. A nice, fluffy cake, white icing, a little bit of sprinkles on there, 3 layers, looks great. And you want a cake. So you call the 3 or 4 or 5 vendors you work with, say, I want a cake. And they go, great, we absolutely understand. We have a cake. We're going to get you the cake. Everything seems wonderful. The box comes in. In the box, there's eggs and milk and flour and sugar and a pan, etc. And the business owner goes, well, where's the cake? They call. The vendor says, there's a cake. We completely understood what you needed. Said you wanted a cake. All the components of a cake are in that box. Business owners still flummoxed because that's not what they ordered. It's sort of there, but it's sort of not. They still need a cake. So they're lost. Often that box, because now of the complexity, and they're not bakers, and they don't have an oven, the whole box gets moved off someplace else, turns into shelfware. And all of a sudden, you get the I hate IT, it doesn't deliver for us, we wanted an actual thing, and we have all these parts, but it doesn't make the thing. So the CIO comes in a particular spot that actually becomes, in this case, the chef. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you have all the ingredients, all the pieces, but it's not a fully baked solution, right? To use a cake analogy.
Right. And we come in the CIO, Enterprise Technology Management, and when the customer says, I want a cake, we can show them pictures of what kind of cake do you want? And we can talk to them about why they selected a cake, when they need the cake, how many people are going to eat the cake, etc. And sometimes we find out they absolutely wanted the cake that they ordered. But other times, through experience, we figure out they really wanted apple pie with some ice cream on the side. But the point is that they get the finished product that they want. And if they need it, we'll serve the cake. We've got the plates, we got the forks, we have the glass of milk for them or cup of coffee. The whole thing is there, and they get what they needed, and they get what makes their company work, because in the end, that's what we're all about. We're here to make your company work. Welcome back to Above Sea Level. We were talking about the cake analogy a moment ago, and in our model, the Chief Operating Officer, which is Mason, welcome in, Mason.
Good to be back.
Mason's the actual person who puts all those ingredients together to deliver to the customer what they actually want. First of all, how do customers react to you when you actually deliver those solutions, and how hard is it to interpret what that customer wants?
I think the reaction of it is mixed given the environment. I mean, generally, it's certainly positive. A lot of what we do, a lot of building the cake or building whatever that method is that delivers the intended result is maximizing tools already in place, bringing things to the table that are really expertise when it comes to making software work for the purpose that it is, evaluating products, automating processes, and overall building internal satisfaction sometimes when it comes to the I can't prints of the world, or the, hey, we're having trouble logging on remotely and accessing the data we need. So it's almost two-pronged. One is the ROI, the returns on investment made prior to or investment made with the technology advisor or with us. And the second one is sometimes rebuilding that trust between IT and the rest of the business, or really bringing that true enterprise level support, regardless of the size of that customer, bringing that enterprise level support to the service desk, whether that's co-managed or completely with VienerX.
That's well put. I think that one of the challenges that brings up is I might, or Mason and myself, get to talk to the business leadership, and they tell us what they want, and all things are good. But you have the then job of taking our team and interfacing with the people who do the work at the customer site every day, and that brings its own challenge to get them to buy into that future.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's just the approach, and some things, regardless of industry or trade, remain the same, which is bringing a high level and high touch model to customer service, making sure that you're being responsive inside of of course, the contractual SLA, but also what makes people more efficient. If somebody can't log on, where is the priorities within just the service desk, within those tickets? And then when you talk about with the executive team being sometimes the translator or the liaison between the actual business practices and business processes and business plan, and putting that into a technology strategy that can be understood with minimal explanation, right? Some things are always going to be challenging, especially on the cybersecurity side, as things change and rotate constantly in that world. But other things are just true business processes that make sense to a COO or a CFO or whoever's kind of running point on the overall organizational strategy, is making technology, one, have a seat at the table because it is so important in the modern workplace, and two, not be a bunch of, something that might as well be in a foreign language, but something that can be understood, executed, tracked, and actually have performance indicators on what your technology is doing for you.
One of the greatest satisfactions I have out of this is seeing these products and processes in place, and having anybody from a person who's typing data in to a manager to ownership go, that actually delivered. That was great. We see where you were going, and that makes us money. That makes things better here.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about, and you hear it a lot in marketing, right? Marketing is an investment, not a cost center. And I apply that to technology just as a whole, is really you should be investing almost like it's the stock market on things that are going to pay dividends down the road and can increase and really appreciate for your business as you grow. Technology should work the same, right? There are things you can do that maybe are just a cost, like buying an internet circuit, right? You're going to have to do some of those things. That's the cost of doing business. Then there's the layer in the model that you've talked about, right? The ingredients you bring together in that. Those are the things where you're making a choice, right? You have choices in any field of which direction you go. Even in regulated fields, there are options that fit different practices and different purposes better than others. Having a process around evaluating them, not only from a cost perspective, but from a productivity, from an automation, from a user friendliness perspective, is where having technology as part of your leadership brings value on paper, and it brings value on the social and emotional aspects of your office and the buy-in that the tier one person or the buy-in that the entry-level employee has, all the way up to the senior consultant or the manager of that department. If they're bought into the tools, they want to see it work, they're in that role for a reason, and the tools should fit what they're trying to do and accomplish.
And I think that shows as much your technology depth as the fact that we're actually coaching. Technology is a tool to get you someplace, but the ability of the team that you lead to coach the people to use it properly and make the right decisions on the fly, how to operate a system, become key, because that's what makes them happy. The people have to touch it every day, really do need buy-in. They have to be happy, or else you might spend a lot of money, but you're not going to actually get what you want.
Yeah, I would say, on that, it's the most disappointing days I find to be in here is when you implement a tool and you see it not deliver what it was supposed to. Or you spend a lot of time working with a client on something, and the thing that I really dislike is this is too hard to use. Right? That means there's a gap either in that selection process or in the training and implementation piece of it. And those are the things that you want to, of course, limit. They're also going to happen, but when you talk about being integrated inside of a business, it makes everything. Maybe tool A is better than tool B, but I know my user base, and tool B, it may lack something, but I know we're going to get 100% out of it. It's almost like you mentioned the coaching analogy. It's a lot of times the scheme needs to fit the players you have. And I can coach all day to the scheme, but if the guys can't execute it, then more than likely we're going to lose. So it's finding the right players, and it's finding the right tools and playbooks and making those two things mesh and, again, deliver on the intended outcome.
Well, thanks for shedding some light on how enterprise technology management all the way through that stack helps to make your company work. And when it works well, and it often does, it's a great thing to watch. So thanks for being on Above Sea Level today. I'm Wayne Viner. That's Mason Viner. Shane Gossert was on a few minutes ago. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.